Hello and welcome to my tutorial about how to animate Pokemon in real life using Blender 3D. Now before we get started, I need to let you guys know that I'm still a beginner myself and I'm still learning a lot of things with Blender. But I'm hoping that my tips will help you guys out, help you get started on what I do, and maybe help you make some animations of your own. So by moving the mouse, you're able to rotate the camera around the center right here. And if you hold control and move the mouse up and down, you will zoom in and out. Now this cube, I will show you with this cube how you move objects with Blender. So you move, if you left click a arrow, you'll move it in that direction. So this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis, and this is the z-axis. Now there's another tool down here too, which changes these to rotation tools. So instead of moving it, you'll rotate it like so. And you can also press S to resize it, or you can press R to rotate it from the direction you're facing. And yeah, so this is the cube. This is everything that you start out with Blender. You start with a cube, a single lamp, and a camera. But you guys are interested in Pokemon, so what we're going to do is we're going to delete this cube by pressing X and then delete. So the Pokemon models I use, I download from themodelresource.com. They have a bunch of other models that you can use from other games, but make sure if you use them in a YouTube video that you credit Nintendo or whoever makes the game. So there's two main types of Pokemon models. There's the Pokepark models and the X and Y models. The X and Y models have a lot more evadability to them, so you can move them with more control, but they're a lot more complicated. As for the Pokepark models, they come with some small errors that I'll show you how to fix, but the bones are a lot more simple. But because they're more simple, you won't be able to move them as much. But my main Jolteon model that I use is a Pokepark model, so I'll show you how to use that. So to import your Pokemon model, say you download it from themodelresource.com, which is what I'll be showing you how to do. You'll click File up here and go down to Import, and then click .dae. So then you click this and click where your model is saved, so I'll do that real quick. Okay, so first I'll show you the Pokepark model. Now, I haven't tested out every single model, so there may be some things that are different for each model, but this is the Jolteon model. Now, the first thing you'll notice is it's very small and it's sideways. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here, go near the area and press S, and then move backwards to scale it up. Let's do it a little bit more now. Okay, and then we're going to press R, which will set it into rotate mode. Then we're going to press X, which will rotate it along the Z-axis, and then hit -90, and this will bring it back up. Now, by default, it'll have everything selected in the thing that you import. So this bone is selected, the eyes are selected, and the entire model is selected. So now that it's up like this, now there's no color here. It's just white, and that's because we're on a solid point of view. There's other points of views. There's wireframe, textured, and then rendered, which will be very useful because rendered is what it looks like when it's finished. So if we go to texture, this still doesn't have any texture. Now for other models like the X and Y model, it'll probably still have the texture. It'll have the texture already ready when you import it, but it doesn't for this one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go up here to the corner and open a new window by left clicking it and dragging it. So once we have that, we'll just slide this, wait one moment, right over here. We'll slide this out, and we will go down here and change the type of window to UV image editor. Now it's blank right now, but we'll find use for this in a moment. So if we go back to the model and right click a certain part of the model, when you're actually animating, you right click things instead of left clicking. This is left clicking and this is right clicking. So we're going to click this part of the model, then we're going to go down here to object and go from object mode to edit mode. Another thing you could do is just press tab, that will let you switch. So in edit mode, we're going to press A, which will select all of these little dots here. These are called vertices. This is what makes up the model. Combining these makes up the model. And we're going to go over here and press remove doubles. This will remove any duplicate vertices. And then hit shading smooth. Now you'll notice if we tab out of edit mode that the model is a lot more smooth now. So then we're just going to do the same thing for the eye. Right click, tab, edit mode, press A, remove doubles, shading smooth. Now that it's all smooth, we will apply the texture to it. So we're going to go back to edit mode. I'll just do it with this one first. And with all the vertices selected, we're going to go down here into this window and hit this little tab right here. And by default, it should have the two Jolteon textures set up. So we're going to click Thunder's DH. Thunder's is what Jolteon's called in Japanese. And this will put the actual texture on the model. So we'll just do the same thing for the eyes real quick. And you can't see it right now because, yeah, right there. This one's a little dark because of the way the lamp's set up. I'll just move the lamp up here a little bit. Yeah, right there. And now the model is looking smooth. But the thing that still is weird is that the eyes are still disconnected. So what we want to do is we want to hit this and then hit shift and then right click it again, and this will hit both of them at the same time. Now usually what you'll do is to combine two models, which in this case it's the eyes and the actual body. You'll hit control and then you'll hold control and then hit J. But there's a small error with this model that makes it mess up the UV textures, which is the little thing right here that maps the texture onto the model. So what we need to do is we're going to go over to Object Data and down to UV Maps. Now this is what the UV map name is. It's Geometry Source 5. Now the reason that messes up is because these two geometry sources have different names, and we want to combine them into one so that they can be active at the same time, because you can't activate two UVs at the same time. So we're going to go down here and rename it, and we're just going to get rid of the 5. Now it's just geometry source, so we'll do that with this one too, and we'll just remove the 2 from here. Remove the 2. And we will, now that they're both called geometry source, now we can hit the eyes, shift click the model, then hit Control J, and now they're combined. Now when you're starting out, I recommend that you save a lot, because you probably will make some mistakes and you want to be able to go back. So also, if you do make an error, so you move it over here like that and you want to move it back, you just go to Object and Undo, and it'll undo what it just did. So back to saving. What you want to do to save is you go up to File and then Save. When you save data for the first time, it'll ask you where you want to save it and what its name should be. So you'll do that, and after you do that, just hitting save once will save the model. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, I saved it. Now let's go see the Renders tab. Now you'll notice that this looks very weird already. This part is completely black and the light looks like she's standing right next to the sun. So we're going to fix that. So we're going to go back to Texture, and we are going to go to the Materials tab. Now when these start out, the spectacle is a little high. Now usually when I animate with any model, X or Y or Pokepark, I turn spectacle all the way down. That way it doesn't make a giant white light when it's shining a light. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it. Now that these two things are combined, you want to go over here, select all the vertices, and hit remove doubles one more time, and that will smooth it out completely. So now that the spectacle is gone, it's just a light. But you'll notice that it's still completely black over here. So to fix that, we're going to go to the Worlds tab over here, and this just combines like what the environment of the area looks like. So say the background If I wanted to make it brighter, I could do this or that. But what we're going to do is we're going to click this button, and it's going to make it mostly even. And there's still a brighter spot right next to the lamp, and that's what we want. So we're going to go back to texture, and now it is pretty much ready to be animated. So how we animate things is we right click this bone here, and you might have already seen this. There's little weird things coming from the model. This is the skeleton that actually lets us move the model. So we can't really see it that much right now, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the armature tab, my mistake, and press X-ray. And now we can see the entire skeleton. Now if we move the skeleton, no, that's the skeleton, it'll also move the model. So if you don't want to like place it anywhere, you right click again and it snaps back. So what we're going to do now that we see our models, we're going to go to object mode and change it to pose mode. Now it'll let us select the bones individually, and we can use the rotation tab down here to rotate different parts of the body. So I'll just undo this real quick. So now moving this isn't animating it. So what we're going to do to actually make it move, like in a scene, is we're going to go over here to this window and change it to the dope sheet. Now, this basically is what keeps track of our animations. So for how long you want your video to be, you go down here, and this is when you want the thing to start and when you want it to end. So the frames are approximately, the amount of frames is like how many images are being put together. So say you want this to go longer, you'll increase frames. If you want it to be shorter, you'll decrease frames. Now usually I like to do 30 frames per second, so we're going to go to the renders tab and go to frame rate and hit 30 frames per second. It's set to default by 24. And you also want to change the type of recording it's going to make. So right now it's PNG, so if you rendered it now, it would be a series of images. So I'm going to change that to QuickTime, which is what I usually do. So now what we're going to do with the dope sheet is before we do that, we're going to go down here and click this button and hit available. And then we're going to hit this little record button. Now it'll keep track and set keyframes for every time we move the bones. So usually what I like to do is I like to hit every single one of every bone that I plan on moving. So I'll hit all the bones that I plan on moving. And now you'll see that set these little yellow diamond things up here. These are keyframes. These are the things that actually keep track of the movement. So right now it's saying that during frame 0, the movement's going to be there. So let's say I want the arm to be moving up, and I want it to get there by frame 50. So I'll skip to frame 50 on the dope sheet or the little frame tracker down here. Go to the arm and rotate it up like this. Now in between frame 0 and 50, it'll go up like this, and you can start and stop the animation by pressing Alt-A, and to stop it you press Escape. So now the arm is moving up like that. So I'll just make a short animation here. Well, actually wait, before I do that, let's set up our camera tracking footage. So let's go here and go to Movie Clip Editor. Now this kind of works similar to the UV image editor, except it's actually with movie clips. So we're going to go down here, hit open, and select your footage. Now if you're using a Mac, I like to render my footage in iMovie before I actually open it here. So I'll do that real quick. And now we have our footage. So our footage, this is the same footage from Life of Jolteon 3, Jolteon and the Amiibo, where Jolteon walks up to the Amiibo and looks down at it. Now this footage doesn't move, and I recommend this for beginners because camera tracking can be a little hard to get used to. So this footage doesn't move. Now when I say it doesn't move, it means it has to be it has to be really, really still, as in like on a tripod, not moving. So we're going to hit tripod motion, which will let us know that we're using a tripod. Then hit camera motion. And then after that, since there's no footage, Since there's no movement, it doesn't really, we don't really need to do much else, so we'll just hit set as background and set as tracking scene. I might make a future tutorial on camera tracking in a bit, but now if we go here, we're going to actually want to move this over and make a third window, and we're going to make one of these windows the one that we actually move around, and one that becomes the camera view. So we're going to go down here, hit view, and then camera, and this will give us a view from the camera, but we can't really see anything besides the model. So to see the background, we're going to hit this little plus thing up here. Wait, actually we're going to want to hit this plus thing, go down, hit background images, hit this little button that shows us more options, hit add image, and then hit movie clip. So now it'll let us see the background of the footage. So from here we can animate our footage. So the lamp in the footage is over in front of Jolteon's face, so I'm going to move the lamp so it reflects similar to that. This is just a quick example, so you might want to, normally I'm more accurate than this, but this will just give you a good idea of how you do it. So right there, about right there. You can also go over here to the lamp settings and make the lamp more or less powerful. I'll just set it on the default right now. So now we can animate the model with the footage in the background. So I'll just do a quick animation using the dope sheet. So I will move the head over this way, then tilt it using this. Wait, actually, one moment. I want to move forward since the head's already default, say like frame 45. Move forward, then tilt the head. Then I want her to move the head back down. So I'll go forward a little bit more and do another frame. So I'll move it down like this and do that. So now her head should go like this. The frame rate's a little choppy, but most of the time it'll go smoother than this. And I also want her to close her mouth quickly. So usually you don't want to tilt your model until you're done animating. You want it to remain straight alongside an axis. Otherwise, when you try to rotate it using these rotator tools, it'll turn out crooked and it'll look really weird. So we're going to go here and go one frame forward and close the mouth. Now, when you make frames really close to each other, it's a real pain to actually select the right frame because you might accidentally hit the wrong frame since it's so small. So what I usually do is that if it's selecting the frame that I don't want it to select, I'll press B, circle the frame, and then I'll hold Shift and then click it. Now it should select the other frame. So we're going to move this one forward just a little bit. So now she'll close her mouth, look forward, and I also want to create another frame real quick where she opens her mouth again. So since it's going to be the same as this, I have two options. I can either go down here, hit pose clear transformation, and hit all. This will return it back to the way it was before you did any animation to it. So if you did a really weird animation where you moved it in a really weird way and you want to just return it to normal to start over, you just hit clear transformation and then press all. But you could also what you could do is you could click the keyframe from the beginning, hold Shift, hold D, and move it towards the end, and this will also do practically the same thing. So if it's like for instance this isn't the default position, so if I wanted to move it back here again, I would hit Shift D, go here, and now it'll go back up again. And so the other thing I don't want is she'll start opening her mouth as soon as this frame passes. So I want her mouth to stay closed for a while. So I'm going to take this frame, press Shift D, and go forward like this. Since it's the exact same frame, no movement will happen until that duplicate passes. So now it'll look like this. Yeah, that's not the best animation, but it'll do. Now I also want her to blink once, and this is something that it took me a while to figure this out, and here's an easy way to do it. If you hit the model and go to the go to materials and hit the eye material, then go to textures. You'll have a little thing, a little eye thing texture here that shows all the possible eyes. And then we're going to go down and then go to offset. Now I'm going to save real quick just in case I mess this up. So if we hit render now, her eyes are like this because you can't really see it unless it's not rendered. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit eye on offset. Now this will set a keyframe just like up here, and you can keyframe a bunch of other things. So that's very useful with Blender. Then we're going to go forward to where I want her to blink. Then we're going to hit eye again without moving anything. Then we're going to go just one frame forward. That's very important because if you go forward without making this frame, then it will rotate. It'll slowly move towards there and it'll cycle through all the eyes and it will look very, very creepy. So you probably don't want that. It'll look like a horror movie. So then we're going to go to the y-axis, and this might change depending on how the textures are laid up, and then go negative 2.5. Now you'll see Jolteon's eyes are closed. So then you go forward like this, and you keep going forward until you want her to open her eyes again, which I'll do that here. Then you keyframe it without moving anything. Then you go back, go one frame forward, then go back to frame 0, and she will open her eyes again. So this will, so you can't see it up here, but now she will blink. So yeah. And yeah, that's basically it. So I'm just going to render this real quick, and that's basically it. Oops, sorry guys, but I actually did forget a few more things. So underneath the model here, you will notice that there's a little black part. This plane happens when you press the setup tracking scene. What you want to do is you want to extend this so it covers your scene. I will unrender it so you can see it. And we want to zoom it out like this and move it so it's more accurate. Now this is for shadows. So you can't see the shadow right now because it's not rendered, but there will be a shadow from coming from this lamp over here when the scene is actually rendering. So there won't be a shadow unless there's a plane. So because the shadow from here reflects onto this plane, and if there's no plane, then there will not be a shadow. So a few other things I did is I moved the frame. I moved the time of the animation down to 77, so that way it ends a lot shorter instead of just having a movie that plays, not just stands still for a few seconds. And let's see. Oh, and we also want to choose a location to store our clip when it's done. So I'm going to hit that real quick. So yeah, now we have it there, and I will start the animation. Now, depending on how complicated it is, it will take a lot longer. And this is not the best. As a matter of fact, the lamp is a little too far into the ground than I want it to. So if you see an error in your animation and you want to fix it, and you don't want to wait through the whole thing, just go through here. But keep in mind that the footage that that's already been rendered will still be there. But it will usually get overwritten once you press render again. So I'm going to move it up a little bit, that way the shadow hits the ground more. And now let's try and render it. So yeah, now it's more towards the ground and it doesn't extend over the plane. So I will be back when this finishes. Actually guys, I did forget one last thing. I'm sorry for misleading you if that's happened. You'll notice during the renders that the shadow looks all like flat. If you want it to look more like an actual shadow, what we need to do is we need to go to our lamp up here, just hit the lamp. Go over here and go down to the shadow settings. Now, if you just want it to cover the ground beneath them, you'll hit no shadow, but this is a ray shadow, so it'll go away from, the shadows will appear on the opposite side of the lamp. and we want to go move samples to 3 and then just move soft size up a little bit, and if we render now, our shadows should be a little bit more soft. Yeah, like that, and not all staticky. Okay, so now I'll be back when this finishes. And here's our finished animation. Now, you guys should know that making an animation, depending on your scene, will take varied amounts of time. I've had some scenes take me like 30 minutes, and others take me like 3 or 4 days to make. It all depends on the scene. And of course, when you get into things like walking animations and other things like that, you will have to adapt and learn how to do those. But if you keep practicing, practice makes perfect, and you will eventually get better at it. So, yeah. Now, before I end this video, I will show you the an X and Y model of Jolteon, just in case you guys are interested in that. Okay, here is the comparison between the Pokepark model over here, and this is the X and Y model right over here. Now, that's solid. I haven't actually applied the textures to this yet, but you can just see from the render. Now this model already has all the textures ready. All of the eyes are already on. You don't need to do much, any of those complicated things that I was showing you throughout the tutorial. And usually they are higher quality. There is a few downsides to these models though, is if we hit X-ray with this model, it is, let me go over here and hit X-ray. It is a lot more complicated than this model. So it gives you more freedom with what you can move. So you can move like just this part. There's 2 bones for the ears instead of just 1. But it is a lot more complicated, and there actually are hidden bones. Now there's some hidden bones in some Pokepark models too. But if you notice here, there's actually a second bone right at the end of here that you can't see at all because it's hidden by the first bone. And there's actually a bunch of these around these type of models. So like for instance, this is spine 1 and we move it up like this, but we can actually move it further by clicking the end here, and there's actually a hidden second spine that lets us move it up even further than that. So these skeletons are a lot harder to comprehend, while these are more simple and there's not that many hidden bones. So most of the time I use the Pokepark models. The only one that I plan to continue using the Pokepark model of is the Jolteon model, because I don't really like the way the Jolteon model looks in X and Y. But yeah, that's basically how it's done. Thanks for watching, and if you find this tutorial helpful, leave a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.